Assalamualaikum. For WTE365 Wood Product Trade Practice, I'm Nur Azrin Natasha binti Muhammad Saleh with Nur Farah Eza binti Haidir and Nur Alia binti Muhammad Azhar will present about the National Timber Industry Policy, also known as NATIP. Introduction to NATIP. NATIP is the combination of an extensive research, work, thoughts, and consultation program which the Ministry of Plantation Industry and Commodities and the Malaysian Timber Industry Board, which is MTIB, have carried out over a span of 3 years to identify what needed to be done to ensure the continued viability of the wood-based industry in Malaysia up to the year of 2020. The policy direction presented in NATIP are concerned with the long-term development of the timber industry. They are set out as a course of action designed specifically for the industry to maintain and enhance its competitive edge in the global marketplace. There are two objectives of NATIP. First is to ensure the industry continue to enhance its competitiveness in the global marketplace. NATIP is a grading principle for the development of the timber industry in Malaysia at the pace development intensities and international trade become more competitive and globalized it become imperative that foundation in the industrial development. Second is to promote higher value-added downstream activities through the provision of special funding and grants. NATIP also promoting industrial development within the timber industry technology and innovation. The important role in gearing in the industry towards achieve greater and the best productivity and profitable together enhanced timber industry will be poised to development and potential and embark on the greater industrial transformation. Next, let's look at development of NATIP. NATIP was officially launched by YAB Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak, Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia on 17 February 2009 at Putra World Trade Center Kuala Lumpur. Mock checks were handed to 8 companies which have come aboard the commercial-scale forest plantation program. An exhibition was also set up to protect the evolution and progress of the wood-based sector. Malaysia is an important player in the international market for tropical timber and timber products. Besides being the largest exporter of tropical logs and stone timber, Malaysia also the second largest supplier of plywood and 10th largest exporter of furniture in the world market. There are 7 pillars for generating growth in NATIP. Let's look at each one of them. Thrust 1. Industry structure. The Malaysian timber industry is one of the major contributors to the Malaysian economy. In 2008, timber and timber products contribute 22.5 billion ringgit out of Malaysia's estimated total merchandise export of 674 billion ringgit and has provided employment to about 300,000 workers. Malaysia is one of the world's largest exporter of tropical timber and timber product and the 10th largest exporter of furniture, second in Asia, with over 160 export destinations. Malaysia has also established itself as a major producer and exporter of sawn timber, panel product, which is plywood, medium density fiberboard, also known as MDF, and particle board, flooring, doors, and other joinery products.
Thrust 2. The supply of raw materials. The major source of raw materials for the industry has been from the natural forest as from state land, forest, lineage land and rubber replanting programs. Under the Third Industrial Master Plan IMP3 in 2006 to 2020, annual export of the timber industry are targets to reach 53 billion ringgit by 2020. Thus, it is anticipated there will be a shortfall of raw materials due to the reduced opening of state land, forests and alienated land for development. This situation must be addressed urgently through the implementation of appropriate policy measures. One solution to this problem is to encourage outward investment in the production of logs and semi-finished components in timber resources-rich countries in order to supplement the insufficient supply of raw materials to the timber industry. Thrust 3. Innovation and technology. The timber industry, which has been a major source of export income for the country in the last 40 years, needs to innovate and reinvent itself to stay competitive. With regards to woodworking machinery, there are several large suppliers in Malaysia, and among the notable ones such as Petaling Corporation. Timber manufacturing currently is based on mass production, relying on the use of machines to attain fast throughput, thereby reducing the labor content as well as the total cost. Despite the high degree of the mechanization, the industry still face problem of labor, as jobs in the industry are generally regarded by the local workers as dangerous, difficult and dirty, which is 3Ds. Thrust 4. Marketing and promotion. The marketing and promotion of Malaysian timber and timber products is an important element in ensuring the long-term viability of the timber industry. The international market is getting increasingly competitive, brought about by trade liberalization, innovative emergence of new global suppliers in consumers' demand. An effective marketing and promotional strategy is therefore essential to boost Malaysia's timber trade and sustain the growth of the industry. Thrust 5. Human Capital Development. Human Capital Development, which is HCD, is one of the key thrusts in the Malaysia Plan 9MP 2006 to 2010. Greater capacity building efforts will be undertaken in line with developing knowledgeable, skilled and innovative human capital toward achieving the structural change needed to drive a knowledge-based economy. Availability of adequate and relevant human capital is critical and of paramount importance in ensuring the continued development and process of the timber industry in Malaysia. In the regard, recent initiatives in promoting economic development in selected regions such as the East Coast Economic Region (ECER), Northern Corridor Economic Region (NCER), Sabah Development Corridor (SDC), and Sarawak Corridor of Renewable Energy (SCORE), have placed emphasis on further developing the timber industry, which would require generating a large pool of relevant skilled workers. For example, the proposed establishment of the Malaysia Rubber Wood Furniture Industry Park in the ECR would require about 13,000 skilled workers.
So, I will talk about Trust 6, funding and incentive. And firstly is issues and challenge. The main concerns of the timber industry is financing for small and medium-sized startups active in wood processing. The difficulty of getting credit is related to the problem of ensuring a long-term supply of raw materials and the lack of awareness on the part of the manufacturer. The step forward is support from commercial banks and financial institutions. It is important to ensure the development of the timber industry. It is important to understand the tree improves the industry and enable SMEs to make credit more flexible and easier to access and credit facility. Policy directions is the timber industry needs to create a more fostering environment for timber development through the provisions of fund and incentives and the involvement of SMEs in the timber industry through commitment awareness program that provide informations about availability with the access to government loans and credit lines commercial bank. And for Trust 7 is Bumiputra Participations. The main strategic thrust in the NEP is the development of Bumiputra entrepreneurs under the agenda towards establishing the Bumiputra commerce and industry community, which is we call it BCIC. The main objective of the BCIC is to increase the participations of Bumiputra entrepreneurs in activities related to commerce and industry that is competitive and sustainable at the domestic as well as it in international level. The issues and challenge. Most Bumiputra business owners limited related formal training. As a result, the approach to business is not yet low risk tolerance and highly domestic guaranteed orders. Therefore, business development is limited. And the step forward about Bumiputra participation is government development programs that provide assistance in areas such as raw material procurement, increases funding, and incentive expanded to include qualified Bumiputra entrepreneurs. And for the policy directions is establishing competitive and sustainable participations of Bumiputra in the timber industry, emphasize the participations of Bumiputra all levels. And for the conclusions, NATIP will guide stakeholders and industry players on the trend of development which is most feasible for the industry to embark on. Activities development for NATIP represent a constituent of the government support program of building a resilient and competitive nations at a high level of sustainable growth. As the world economy is experiencing some degree of instability, access to market is of utmost importance. I'm happy to note that the wood-based industry has taken measures to improve its access to key markets, especially those which are inclined towards resource sustainability and legal trade.